time for NTV Tonight, our top stories.
Magazeti tumesoma, baada ya sisi kusoma, tutafungia nyama na tutaendelea mbele.
Thank you, Kennedy Muriithi. That name betrays it all. Absolutely. Thank you.
Debate snub raises questions over Kalonzo DP Ruto's readiness to be held accountable.
Another court case against IEBC as first batch of ballot papers arrive.
Hawataki uchaguzi, wanataka serikali kupitia mulango ya nyuma. Jameni wa Kenya, mnataka mambo ya nusu mkate?
Ati tunataka nusu mkate. Sisi tuko tayari kuchukua serikali full. Ile power ambayo tutashare na Jubilee ni stima tu ya Kenya Power.
Who wants the election postponed? Jubilee NASA reopen nusu mkate debate.
Top state officers in Ombudsman's crosshairs over misuse of state resources.
NTV Tonight with Smriti Vidyarthi and Mark Masai.
Hello there, thanks very much for joining us. Tonight, our sign language interpreter is David Agondoa.
It's well known that Deputy President William Ruto and former Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka rarely agree or indeed walk in the same direction.
But last night, the two leaders bundled each other into a basket for those that may well be described as fugitives of accountability.
Deputy President Ruto skipped the presidential running mates debate as political leaders in the governing Jubilee and the opposition NASA coalition took accountability levels to a new low.
Andrew Ochieng reports.
The debate's platform world over stand for one word: accountability. When presidential debates were introduced by media in 2013, they instantly compelled some level of accountability to the public by those seeking to be elected to the country's highest office.
Uhuru na Gwambo tunawamalizia 2017. Ama magani? Ndio watashindana 2017. Alafu mimi nitarudi 2022 sasa kuomba ile deni yangu ile mnawapatia.
Way in advance of time, Deputy President William Ruto has been selling himself as a Jubilee candidate for president in 2022. But on Monday night, the DP skipped the presidential running mates debate. Just why did he snub it?
Wale ambao wanaandika magazeti na kujaza maneno huko, they are wasting their time. Wanapoteza muda yao. Hawa mimi nawaambia hiyo magazeti wanaandika sijui watafanyia nini. Kwa sababu hiyo magazeti tumesoma, baada ya sisi kusoma tutafungia nyama na tutaendelea mbele.
His disdain for the media has occasionally been articulated, and by skipping the debate, the DP could well have been flashing the contempt card yet again. Sections of media from time to time have pressed for accountability on certain issues of governance, but the DP is often known to push back aggressively. When the Business Daily broke the story on the misappropriation of 5 billion shillings in the Ministry of Health, the DP went for the press and the opposition.
Hata hii porojo mingi na story mnasikia watu wamejaza kwa magazeti. Hawa watu wote unasikia wanasema ati hii imepotea, ile imepotea, hakuna jambo mpya wanatueleza.
This is despite the fact that the procurement of medical containers by the ministry had been termed as irregular. Eyebrows had also been raised by the fact that the president's sister had been one of the beneficiaries of the tenders at the ministry and had been listed as a disadvantaged so as to get preferential treatment when tenders are awarded. But he saw nothing wrong.
Wanajaribu kulaumu huyu, kulaumu yule mwingine. Ni jambo gani ambayo hawa watu hawajajaribu kuweka fitina ati kuna ufisadi? Kwa sababu hawa watu wanajua wazi kama wakishindana na Jubilee on the basis of performance hakutakuwa na mashindano.
By snubbing the debate, the Deputy President in effect avoided the opportunity to account for electoral promises made in 2013, some of which he has been vocal about. The debate would have provided the public the opportunity to clarify on statements such as these conflicting ones made by the President and his deputy regarding one issue, the construction of stadia in the country.
Jubilee promised 5 stadiums in Kisumu, Eldoret, Garissa, Nakuru and Mombasa. What happened to those stadiums?
We've managed to rehabilitate a number of stadia. We have rehabilitated Kisumu, we have rehabilitated Kipchoge in Eldoret, and a number of others. But we have not yet built the 5 stadia. But that is just one of the many promises that we have made, which we are willing and ready to admit to the people of Kenya that this to us is work in progress.
As we talk today, in 6 months' time, the stadium in Wote will be complete. In 3 months' time, the stadium in Chuka will be complete. In 3 months' time, the stadium in Moyale will be complete. In 6 months' time, the stadium in Kamarin in West Pokot, which is historic, will be complete. In a couple of months, the stadium in Eldoret will be complete. So instead of 5 stadiums, we actually went for 9, just to make it good and to make it better.
Jubilee insiders say snubbing the debates is a strategic decision to safeguard their re-election chances. The Jubilee pair of DP Ruto and President Kenyatta face the uphill task of accounting for their time in office, and with just days to the election, a platform in form of a televised debate would normally not rank as among the best choices under the circumstances. Andrew Ochieng, NTV.
Well, like William Ruto, Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka is tonight the second fugitive of public accountability.
The NASA coalition has been incoherent in its explanation, with presidential campaign leader Musalia Mudavadi even claiming that Kalonzo was out of the country.
Enoch Sikolia takes a deeper look at Musyoka's snub.
The former vice president was to battle Deputy President William Arap Ruto in what was expected to be a mouth-watering second tier of the debate. But Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka was a no-show.
No running mate has stand up yet in time for the start of this debate.
Kalonzo Musyoka never communicated personally why he failed to honor the date, but NASA alleged that the Wiper leader was out of the country. Invited analysts at the debate observed that this was just an escape route for the Wiper leader to avoid accountability questions.
When are we going to grow up and begin to treat the electorate as citizens, not as subjects that you speak to only when you feel like?
Besides interrogating NASA's manifesto, Musyoka was in line with the structure of the debate to be engaged on a wide range of issues on governance and leadership.
These people take that position for granted, that they deserve it, that they have the pedigree. Yet all of us were born naked.
The abortive debate, according to analysts, could have presented Kenyans an opportunity to understand Kalonzo Musyoka deeper.
I want to urge that you do not force coalitions. Yeah? There are some which are media-driven.
The man who served under the Moi and Kibaki regimes is famous for his edgy relations with the media and is remembered for scolding a journalist for seeking more clarification during a press conference.
Young man, you're entitled. First of all, we didn't even get your name.
My name is Kennedy Muredi.
Thank you, Kennedy Muredi. That name betrays it all. Absolutely. Thank you.
In the last 4 years of the Jubilee rule, the opposition came out as a strong supporter of the media, especially when President Kenyatta's government curtailed the freedom of the press through draconian legislation. But when the day to account before the media and the public arrived, Kalonzo Musyoka was nowhere in sight. And this ahead of his declared intention to be president of Kenya in 2022. Enoch Sikolia, NTV.
Well, the snub by Kalonzo Musyoka and William Ruto did not, however, defeat the cause of the presidential debate.
Ken Majungu reports that the bigger losers were in fact Jubilee and NASA, while one man, previously unknown, now has a new political status.
He walked head high into the auditorium where an eager audience and 2 moderators were already 30 minutes into the waiting game.
Mudhiora Kariara. Now, ladies and gentlemen,
Mudhiora Kariara, an independent presidential running mate by all standards, did well, answering the questions and outlining his vision for Kenya.
In fact, the kind of change that this nation needs, the office that provides the tools and the instruments, is the presidency.
He was one of the 6 who were to take part in the 2-part debate, one for the 6 who did not record more than 5% of support in any opinion poll. He told the show,
I was strengthened and my commitment was renewed when I saw the audience responding to the points I was making. We have a 6-point plan to make Kenya a nation that it should have been years back. It's this one opportunity and we can't afford to get it wrong.
The decision to segment the debate was deliberate. A few minutes past 7, the other running mates will turn up hopeful that they will be included in the second part, which was to have Jubilee's William Ruto and NASA's Kalonzo Musyoka. But access to the auditorium was denied. Kalonzo and Ruto never turned up, and at about 10 minutes to 9 p.m., a decision was made to call off the debate.
The suggestion that the campaigns did not know about this debate is therefore at best dishonest. These debates have never been about individual candidates. They have never been about any one or two political parties. These debates are driven by the enduring principle that the media is a watchdog for society and provides a platform for alternative visions. This is why we are committed to doing this debate, whether one or two candidates chose to stay away.
It began on Friday when the Deputy President tweeted suggesting that he was only made aware of the debate by a news alert. The organizers insist that the Deputy President was aware of the debate and there had been constant engagement.
We believe that as media, we have discharged our duty.
On Sunday, the DP also tweeted suggesting that he was not consulted prior to the debate. The same day, Dennis Itumbi, a State House operative, ridiculed the debate, saying Kikuyu Member of Parliament Kimani Ichung'wah will represent the Deputy President. Under the debate rules, only candidates cleared by the IEBC could take part. Like Jubilee, NASA skipped the debate with former Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka staying away. The explanation by NASA has been inching closer to hazy raft of excuses.
Have a good night.
Focus has now shifted to the presidential debate next Monday. Jubilee has already indicated through the social media that President Uhuru Kenyatta will not be attending. NASA, on the other hand, is pegging its decision on what they term as agreeable format and attendance of the president. Debate media says the presidential debate proper will take place at the Catholic University in Nairobi. Ken Mijungu, NTV.
Elsewhere, the NASA presidential candidate Raila Odinga is now claiming that the appointment of Education Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i as the acting Internal Cabinet Secretary was a calculated move aimed at rigging the August elections.
According to Raila, Matiang'i has been Jubilee's point man in Nyamira County and has not acted as a state officer. He says the opposition will not allow him to interfere with the elections, even as they exude confidence of winning the August 8th polls in round 1.
Kennedy Muredi with the story.
It's 20 days to the general election, a crunch time for all political parties, where every vote counts. The National Super Alliance, in an effort to consolidate its bases, went back to Kibra to drum up support for their outfit and call on the electorate to turn up in numbers on the 8th of August. The NASA team, led by their presidential candidate Raila Odinga, outlined issues they say must be addressed before the election. Key among them is safeguarding the credibility of the general election.
Jana kulikuwa na mkutano moja kule town. Alikaona jamaa mmoja anaitwa Ziwa Ngusi sijui nani. Ati director of Communications Authority of Kenya. Anatoa onyo, anasema ati hakuna mtu ambaye anakubaliwa kutangaza matokeo ya uchaguzi ijapokuwa IEBC peke yake. Huyo mtu unataka kumwambia bwana, jichunge sana bwana. Wacha upuzi.
The leaders trained their guns on Education Cabinet Secretary and Acting Internal Security Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i, whom they accuse of being a pawn in the elections and a key ingredient in rigging the elections.
Under the pretext of security, Ms. Matiang'i is trying to rig elections in this country. And we are warning him we will not accept it.
A press conference called yesterday by Matiang'i and other government agencies on elections appears to have triggered the latest uproar from NASA. At the press briefing, NCIC Chair Francis Ole Kaparo hinted at a move to switch off social media during the elections.
President wetu wa Republic of Kenya.
The opposition leaders are now reading mischief.
Asiagukie mtego wa Jubilee, aanze kutisha social media. Social media ndio inaleta mabadiliko duniani kote. Uwezi ukasema tuta switch off internet. Ukiswitch off internet, ati hate speech, mambo kama haya, we must develop a culture of tolerance.
According to the leaders, most of the loopholes that would have guaranteed a stolen election have been sealed, but they will not still relent until the election day.
We even now call on the management of Algaraia itself. I know this is a matter in court, but this is a time for transparency. This is a time for disqualifying. They can themselves disqualify themselves na itafuta na wengine ambao wanaweza kuprint bila wao kujulikana.
Si munaona mudhama asimami kiti. Munajua kwa nini? Ninasimamia na kulinda kura za baba zisibiwe. Safari hii Uhuru na Ruto msikie. Mimi ni askari nambari 1 wa kulinda kura.
Wanasema ati sisi tunataka power sharing. Ati tunataka nusu mkate. Sisi tuko tayari kuchukua serikali full. Ile power ambayo tutashare na Jubilee ni stima tu ya Kenya Power, si namna hiyo.
In their tour of Nairobi, the NASA principals also took the opportunity to drum up support for their candidates in Nairobi County, calling on the electorate to consider a 6-piece voting pattern for NASA candidates. Kennedy Mureithi, NTV.
On their side, President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto have once again accused the opposition of hatching a plot to force a postponement of the August 8th election.
They claim NASA's demands that the exercise be cancelled if the IEBC's e-system fails by any measure is an attempt by NASA to get power, quote, through the back door. The two leaders were on the 3rd day of Jubilee campaigns in the coast region.
Peter Mongangi reports.
The Jubilee leaders today charmed 3 counties, starting with Kwale, where they visited Shimoni, Chimba Hills and Ukunda. They then returned to Kilifi and Mombasa counties, where they have also held rallies in the last few days.
Ati wale watu wa mtego hawako tayari kwa uchaguzi tarehe 8 mwezi wa 8, ati wameenda kotini, ati kujaribu kuzuia uchaguzi.
Ati kwa sababu hakuna electronic transfers juu ya results. Mimi niliwaambia wa Kenya mwaka uliopita wakati walianza kucheza na IEBC na kubadilisha watu ya kwamba wenzetu hawako tayari kwa uchaguzi. Hawataki uchaguzi, wanataka serikali kupitia mlango ya nyuma. Jameni wa Kenya, mnataka mambo ya nusu mkate?
Some coast opposition leaders, particularly from Mombasa, were criticized for abusing Jubilee leaders.
Ukitaka umaarufu, ukitaka kuitwa Simba hiyo, wewe jameni, itwa Simba kwa vile utahudumia wananchi. Safisha miji yako huko uitwe Simba.
In Shimoni, which is near the Kenya-Tanzania border, they promised to enhance the port.
Hawa watu wa KRA tutawaambia kutoka wiki ijayo wajipange, hii port ianze kufanya kazi 24 hours vile ilikuwa inafanya zamani.
And the promises kept coming, from free secondary education.
Jukumu ya mzazi sasa ni kuzaa na kulea.
Increasing stipends for the elderly, to the construction of new roads and improved healthcare, among others.
Tuanze kufungua huu uwanja wenu wa Ukunda, tuupanue, na ndio sasa ndege hakuna haja tena ya kwenda Moi, zote hata za international zitakuwa zinashukia hapa kwenu Ukunda.
Tumesema kama serikali, wazee wa miaka 70 sasa watalipwa pesa kila mwezi na serikali ya Jubilee, na patiwe bima ili waweze kushughulikiwa mambo ya matibabu yao.
Kura kwa Uhuru Kenyatta na William Ruto ndio maendeleo pwani itabadilika. Hakuna mwingine atabadilisha maendeleo.
On the issue of land, they said the administration has so far issued 40,000 title deeds to Kwale residents. The Jubilee candidates also tore into their rivals, saying they were the better alternative for Kwale.
Kwa kiwanja hii juzi, ndiyo Raila Odinga na Kalonzo walikubali kwamba Mwakwere na Chipera hawawezi gavana Mvurya.
Tarehe 8 mwezi wa 8 tutakuwa na kura hapa. Hao nyinyi wenzangu wa Ukunda ni kunichezea, mnanichezea jameni. Musiwe mnanichenga jameni.
In 2013, Coast residents voted overwhelmingly for the opposition, but in 2017, the Jubilee party leaders believe the tide will turn in their favor. Peter Mongangi, NTV, at the Kunda Showground at the county of Kwale.
There's more trouble ahead for the IEBC after the Africa Centre for Open Governance went to court to compel the electoral body to publish the entire voter register for scrutiny.
This even as the electoral body maintains the register is credible. The IEBC also says it will work with all mobile network providers to relay the election results, including using satellite in areas where the network coverage is poor.
NASA had gone to court to compel the IEBC to use electronic transmission of results and postpone elections in areas where it fails.
Concerns over the integrity of the voter register may just be another stone in the IEBC's shoe.
Institution.
The Africa Centre for Open Governance has gone to court to compel the Commission to open up the register to public scrutiny. The lot of them are unconvinced with IEBC's assurance.
We've got statistics on the voter register up on the IEBC website, which is laudable. We appreciate that. But really, at this late stage, and according to the law, the voter register needs to be published.
Of course, we realize that there could be some who are deceased, and some will continue to die after the eve of the election. But from where we sit, taking all factors into consideration, I want to assure you that we have a credible register for purposes of the general election.
This court challenge adds to the long list of lawsuits against the electoral body. The IEBC says such are slowing them down with just 3 weeks to go to the general election. IEBC still stands by its decision to award the ballot paper printing tender to Dubai-based Al Ghurair, even as they await the Court of Appeal ruling on Thursday that will provide clarity on whether the printing of the presidential ballot papers should continue. The High Court stopped the printing on grounds that the IEBC did not follow the applicable election laws on public participation.
Since you want the confidence of the players in the elections, you must negotiate. That is what should have happened all along. I couldn't believe personally that IEBC has allowed that litigation to go through to the final stage where you have a judgment.
Public participation is being demanded of public entities or procuring entities. It is the first time in the history of public procurement in Kenya. So, in other words, we could say it's an experiment. The only point of disagreement, I think, is experiment on the wrong specimen.
Even then, the IEBC says it is keeping its options open, including looking for new firms, just in case their appeal falls flat. The IEBC delivered an upbeat assessment of their preparedness to handle the August vote, having struggled to shake off criticism of bungled and mismanaged elections in the past, and amid a wave of doubt as to their impartiality ahead of August.
They did what is called technology demonstration. What is technology demonstration? Technology demonstration. This is an iPhone, right? If you want to switch it on, you press this, right? It comes on, you can put your finger, right? Then it turns on after you put your finger. If you want to call, you press this. If you want to download, you do, you get, that is a demonstration. That's not a testing. Testing is to determine if this iPhone can actually call.
NASA has also added to their list of objections to the IEBC's election preparedness. The latest court case challenges the IEBC to ensure electronic voter identification and transmission of results or postpone the election if the systems fail. IEBC says it will liaise with all mobile network providers in relaying the results. They will also have satellite coverage in areas where the network is poor. The Commission will also publish the list of all the polling stations countrywide by the end of the week. Sheila Sendeo, NTV.
All right, it is 1/2 the hour and time for a quick breather, but there's more coming up on NTV tonight.
That includes relatives, friends celebrating the life of former Minister Nicholas Biwott.
Welcome back. The Ombudsman has forwarded to the Director of Public Prosecutions a list of 12 appointed state officers and public officers alleged to have unlawfully used public resources and participated in political activities.
The letter that calls for the investigation and prosecution of the 12 was in response to growing concern from the public over the recent sightings of state and public officers in partisan political settings.
Victoria Rubadiri reports.
The Office of the Ombudsman raised the red flag over questionable engagement of state and public officers during this political season. Citing sections 14 and 15 of the Election Offences Act 2016, the Ombudsman called out 12 appointive state and public officers after it emerged that they unlawfully used public resources and participated in political activities. The 12 include Meru Governor Peter Munya, Mombasa Governor Ali Hassan Joho, Kericho Governor Paul Chepkwony, and West Pokot Governor Simon Kachapin, who were all accused of advertising their achievements in national dailies. Andrew Wakahiu, Secretary for Delivery and Head of Presidential Delivery Unit, was accused of placing advertisements of Jubilee achievements in various media platforms. Kitui Governor Julius Malombe allegedly branded a county government vehicle with Wiper Party colours and his image for campaigns. Namangofulo Secondary School principal allowed for the use of the school bus during Jubilee campaigns in Bungoma town, while Trans Nzoia County Commissioner Anne Gakuria reportedly campaigned for Jubilee during the Madaraka Day celebrations in Kitale. KRA Commissioner General John Njiraini, State Department of Energy Principal Secretary Joseph Njoroge, Leather Development Council Board Chair Titus Ibui, and State Department of Interior Principal Secretary Karanja Kibicho were all accused of engaging in partisan political activities. The letter, addressed to the Director of Public Prosecutions and copied to the IEBC and Auditor General, urged the DPP to investigate and prosecute the offences of the 12. With exactly 3 weeks to go to the general election, it is yet to be seen whether this will affect the political ambitions of some of the 12 who are running for office. Victoria Rubadiri, NTV.
Former Cabinet Minister, the late Nicholas Kipiator-Biwott, has been eulogized as a diligent man, astute businessman, a philanthropist and a politician who mentored many in the country.
Family, friends and Kenyans at large described him as a man who was loving, but also spoke of how he was often misunderstood and spoken negatively about. Leila Mohammed brings us more.
A cheerful Hani Biwott chatted with family and friends this morning at the AIC Milimani Church, Nairobi. Her choice of adorning black being the only indicator of a lady in mourning. On this day, the lady who left her home miles away to live in Kenya, remembering the love of her life with joy, as she also received condolences from those who knew her late husband in his different capacities that he served the nation. She later expressing her gratitude for the years she shared with her late husband.
He never prided himself on his good deeds. He never tried to take advantage of his connections. He never threw names. He was a humble man.
His children lining up to remember a father, friend and confidant who they shared with the many other children he supported.
The way you stayed above negativity and pettiness and always maintained your objectivity.
So I'm celebrating my father, so I'm going to try not cry here. When I was a baby and he was a student in Melbourne, he used to study with me on his lap.
In his lifetime, the late Nicholas Biwott tried his hand at many sectors of public life. Those who engaged with him in the world of business, testifying of a grandmaster in a game of chess who excelled in all that he did. For those who knew him at a personal level, Kipiator Arap Biwott was a statesman whose love for the country surpassed his individual needs.
In the fullness of time,
history will be written and there will be amends made where people said the wrong things about him.
In the record 28 years he served in the political world, Biwott is said to have impacted the lives of former and present crop of politicians. In his duty to the nation, Biwott is remembered as a patriot who did his best to serve the interests of Kenya at any assignment accorded to him.
He placed the love of country ahead of his own political future. In political retirement, he displayed an uncanny ability to adapt to the political environment. And he generously offered to all of us advice whenever called upon to do so.
On this day that friends came to celebrate his life, it is the lifelong bonds that he formed in his duties that saw the presence of former Tanzanian president at the gathering.
Sisi Tanzania tumepoteza rafiki. Afrika Mashariki imepoteza moja ya watu wake ambao walikuwa na commitment kubwa sana kwa umoja wa nchi za Afrika ya Mashariki.
Biwott will be laid to rest at his home in Tot village, Elgeyo Marakwet, where preparations for his send-off are underway. Leila Mohammed, NTV.
Condolences to the family of the late Nicholas Biwott.
Right, time for a break, and here's what's coming up. Central Bank takes action against 13 banks. We tell you why.
Dan Mwangi. Now, the Central Bank of Kenya has stopped 13 commercial banks from introducing new fees, which the banks argued would help make up for the revenue lost under the capped interest rates regime. The CBK governor says the banks were not justified in adjusting their fees since their services and products remained unchanged. Hudhaifa Eden has more.
The Central Bank of Kenya has rejected the request of 13 commercial banks to adjust their fees after the capping of interest rates. CBK Governor Patrick Njoroge says the regulator dismissed the request and allowed only 3 banks that introduced new services. The banks have been on the spot over allegations of imposing illegal levies on their customers since last year, following the coming into force of the new law capping interest rates.
We repeat our call of reviewing their charges and abolishing nuisance fees.
After the law came into effect in September last year, the lenders introduced new transaction fees and redefined interest-earning deposit accounts in a bid to protect their revenues. These caught many customers by surprise. The governor also downplayed the impact of branch closures, saying technology has changed the model in the banking sector. Agency banking, he says, remains effective and brought services closer to the people.
We have had the digital revolution. So you have access to a lot of your services on your phone. So you don't really have to go to a branch as much. So the relevance of the brick and mortar model is waning.
Kenya's foreign currency reserves now stands at 811 billion shillings, which is 5.2 months of import cover, falling from recent record levels of 860.3 billion shillings as at the end of May 2017. The fall in the amount of reserves held by the CBK was attributed to the anticipated payments of 58.28 billion shillings in government obligations. Hudhaifa Aden, NTV.
Now, is your company listed at the Nairobi Securities Exchange, and how many women sit on your board? A new research shows that for every 5 board members of listed companies, only 1 is a woman. That's not all. The report also indicates that the corporate world is led by an aging population, even though the country is largely young. Laban Clifonserio with the details.
The low representation of women, youth and diverse skills and nationalities in Kenya's boards has rendered stakeholders a worried lot. In a recently released report by the Kenya Institute of Management, KIM, it shows that 21% of board compositions are women, an improvement from 14% recorded in 2012 and 18% recorded in 2015. Let's break down this statistic. This means that 1 in every 5 board members is a woman.
We are moving in the right direction. The question becomes, are we moving at the right speed?
Continentally, Kenya is leading in the representation of women as board chairpersons at 7% against a global average of 4%.
After the global financial crisis, this was the first time in history investors and shareholders stopped looking at boards just based on performance, but started asking the who. Who is making these decisions and how are they making these decisions?
The report also shows that most board members come from accounting, finance and legal backgrounds.
So apart from just having women represented on boards, there comes the issue of age. And just looking at the average age of board representatives in Kenya right now is about 50 years. But then again, the average age of Kenyans in general is about 20 years. Well, if you look at that and comparing it to the society at large, the report says that the lack of millennial representation on the boards is also posing a risk not only to the company, but to the society.
We should never shy away from appointing and incorporating young men and women to our boards, since they hold the future to our businesses and more often than not are our target customers.
So, why is it important to have a diverse board?
For me, the business case is, there is a huge diversity that needs to be represented. It can't be represented from a notional perspective or by proxy. You need the real heart knowing, the real knowing of what it is that these groups are facing in order for one to seize the opportunities as well as to overcome challenges.
And in a naturally diverse society, it is only prudent, therefore, that we have different people in boards so as to better engage with the market, which is also very diverse. Diversity is therefore no longer a moral issue, but as such, it is a business issue.
The Capital Markets Authority says the new corporate governance code guidelines on financial reporting templates and scorecards will assist in encouraging diversity.
Diversity must continue to be a function of understanding alignment of board constitution to strategy, to your consumer base, and to your outlook. But the rules are the first step. The real challenge comes in the implementation.
The report was launched in a partnership with the Barclays Bank of Kenya, Nairobi Securities Exchange, and the New Faces, New Voices initiative. Laban Cliff-Onserio, NTV Business.
The key to self-employment among the youth lies in the way they are taught to harness their education to create jobs rather than just become employed. Seasoned entrepreneurs are pointing to the need to align the education system to the evolving dynamics of the job market, which are tending to favor those bold enough to launch their own businesses. Alex Mwangi reports.
Kenya's largely youthful population bears the bulk of the burden of unemployment. The country's education system is grappling with the need to generate graduates who are bold and savvy enough to see themselves as job creators rather than only as employees.
I see my son today coming home with an assignment from school on how to do a business case. And it starts very simple. To bake a cake, what ingredients does he need to bake the cake? How much did he buy them for? And then they go to school with a baked cake, and they're supposed to sell it to their fellow schoolmates. They have to position themselves. He comes back and tells me, I had to position myself, mommy, not under the staircase, but where people are going to the canteen. That is fantastic. I think if I got such education as he's getting now at his age, I think I'll be very far.
I do think that one of the points that comes out of our publication is the need to assess in an anticipatory way the skill needs of the future, to anticipate and to understand the types of labour market impacts and skill requirements that will result from changes in trade environments.
Industrialization is a key element in achieving Vision 2030, and with the manufacturing sector contributing an estimated 11% of GDP currently, Kenya still has some way to go to attain the desired level of 15% by 2022. Educating the youth to launch and run manufacturing enterprises represents a mammoth challenge given the country's historical over-reliance on agriculture.
Our trade deficit is still very high. This is really a serious problem. Currently, our foreign exchange earnings is really driven by FDIs. But by improving exports, I think we will achieve this increase of forex.
It is Malcolm Forbes who said the purpose of education is to replace an empty mind with an open one. But even with good education, the road to entrepreneurship is only traveled by those who are bold and willing to grope in the dark, confident that by doing so, they will seize new opportunities. Alex Mwangi, NTV.
Now, as a young person, has the thought of getting into agribusiness crossed your mind? With the average age of the Kenyan agri-investor being 60 years old, the government is looking for ways to attract the youth into agribusiness. Now, one of those ways is through an agribusiness fund called Agripesa kwa Vijana, which will extend credit to young people intending to invest in the agri-value chain. This, the government says, is because many young people are unable to raise the required capital to start a business. The USAID is holding Kenya's first National Youth Agribusiness Conference, inviting young people to bring solutions to how they can be involved in agriculture. 508 farmers will have an easier time watering their crop following the opening of the 143 million shilling Muungano water irrigation scheme in Miomponi location in the county of Tharaka Nithi. Now, 4 schools and a hospital will also benefit from the project. The irrigation PS, Zainab Hussein, also commissioned the 11 million shilling Ndetha Earth Dam, whose waters are to be used for domestic purposes in Kajuki location, Chuka Igangamombe sub-county.
Na leo nina furaha sana kuona kuwa muungano mradi umeisha, umeweza kunufaisha wakulima 508. Hizo ni eka 508, na hapa muungano na katika hii sehemu tuko na mradi pia kama huu ambao unaitwa Zuchirij, ambao tutafungua hivi karibuni, uko karibu kuisha. Utanufaisha wakulima 400 na itakuwa ni eka pia 400.
NTV Business for tonight is done, and so am I. Good night.
War of words has erupted between President Uhuru Kenyatta and Kilifi County Governor Amason Kingi after the head of state threatened to jail the governor and others in the county over corruption.
The president said some governors, including Governor Kingi, would be prosecuted and jailed once he retains power in August for misusing over 40 billion shillings since he took office.
But as NTV's Jane Ngweri reports, Governor Kingi shrugged off the president's criticism.
At the heart of Kilifi County, the bad blood between the president and Kilifi Governor Amason Kingi was palpable. By taking the political fight to Governor Kingi's backyard, the president made the most of his tour by unleashing a blistering attack on the governor's perceived misuse of over 40 billion shillings since he took office, setting the stage for a bitter exchange of words.
Hata kama angekuwa mtu wa haki, aseme ya kwamba kwa sababu ya njaa peke yake, kwa sababu ya njaa ya watu yangu, nitatoa shilingi, hata aseme bilioni 2, ajenge hapa, aweke dams hapa, afanye irrigation hapa, tungekuwa tukiongea juu ya njaa leo? Jamani, mimi mchezo watu wa wasiwasi, lete mchezo. Magavana ambao watafungwa baada ya tarehe 8 ni wengi na huyu wenu ni moja.
Mimi sifungwi na rais. Enzi za Nyayo zimeisha, Uhuru Kenyatta zimeisha. Mimi nitafungwa kama na ushahidi na nitapelekwa kotini na mahakama ndio itanisikiliza mimi. Sitapelekwa State House kufunguliwa mashtaka.
The governor, while speaking to Muslim leaders at multi-purpose social hall in Kwakijala area of Rabai constituency, continued to flex his muscle in his own turf.
Mwaka wa kwanza mimi nilipatiwa bilioni 5.8. Mwaka wa pili nikapatiwa bilioni 6.4. Mwaka wa tatu nikapatiwa bilioni 7.4. Mwaka uliopita tukapata bilioni 8. Piga hayo masabu. Hata kiwa ulianguka, hata kwa Mheshimiwa Kenyatta somo la hesabu alipiga E, lakini hawezi kosa hii hesabu hii, haifiki 40.
Haya, Ganze aoneshe hapa, nimefanya hii, nimefanya hii, nimefanya hii. Yeye kazi yake ni kuja kusimama hapa na mtu ya kitendawili.
Kingi, who is seeking his re-election on an ODM ticket, sent a warning shot to the Jubilee team that he intends to jealously protect NASA's stronghold from the government's encroachment.
Angejua ile mioyo ya wakazi wa Kilifi, angepoteza siku 3 hapa kutafuta kura za Jubilee. Hana tofauti na mtu ambaye amesimamisha gunia tupu. Wakati anaondoka, gunia litamwaika tu. Hakuna kitu hapa cha Jubilee.
The president's tour intends to ring-fence the vote that largely went to the opposition in 2013. Jane Goyiri, NTV.
I'm sure you have had enough of politics for now, so let's give you a break and put you to Sports Desk with Brian Otwal after the break.
Let's look at the day's sports news. Welcome, my name is Brian Otwal. The Cabinet Secretary for Sports, Culture and the Arts, Hassan Wario, has said that the government will not rest following the successful hosting of the IAAF World Under-18 Championships at Kasarani. The Sports CS says Kenya has its work cut out as preparations to host the African Nations Championship, better known as CHAN 2018, continues. Wario spoke in Marsabit County, where he assured residents that a stadium is almost complete.
Pia tuko tayari kwa ngome ya mpira ya Afrika ambayo inaitwa CHAN ambayo itachezwa Kenya mwaka ujao Januari. Kwa hivyo baada hii hatukai, kazi inaanza ya CHAN. Tumetoa salamu kubwa kwa ulimwengu. Kwa Kenya iko tayari kuleta mchezo mkubwa zaidi. Ile kitu tunatafuta sasa ni kitu inaitwa World Athletics Championship. Pengine 2021 ama 2023 ije Kenya.
And the KPL All-Stars played their first friendly match in Spain on Wednesday when they faced Cordoba. The team's assistant coach John Kamau is optimistic that the Kenyan-based players can emerge with a win. Coach Kamau lauded the opportunity accorded to the players, adding that it places Kenya in the right direction as far as developing the sport is concerned.
Kwa sababu ukiangalia vijana wenye tuko nao kwa kambi, nadhani ni vijana wa umri mdogo sana, na ukiangalia in terms of the intensive training, nadhani vitu zimeenda vizuri sana kwa sababu pia ni vijana wachukua information na haraka. Tumekuwa nje ya football kwa muda mrefu, na again kuja ati tucheze katika level ambao ni ya kimataifa ama top level, ni kwamba lazima kwanza to build wachezaji, to build quality. So nadhani tukiwa tu wavumilivu kidogo, miaka zinazokuja kama 3 hivi, nadhani tutakuwa na wachezaji ambao tunaweza pata, pengine tuseme wachezaji kama 100 ambao wanaweza itwa katika timu ya taifa. Inatuonyesha kwamba tuko mbali sana, so tunafaa kuwa wavumilivu na tuanze kufocus na zile vitu zinasaidia mpira wa Kenya, then tuendelee kutoka hapo.
And a boda rider is the latest sports lottery millionaire. The 28-year-old Cosmas Kabole became Lotto's 20th multi-millionaire in the third power draw held over the weekend. Kabole won 5 million shillings as Samuel Maina and Petro Kiplagat split equally a 1.2 million shillings windfall. Elsewhere, Raymond Kipkemoi, a matatu owner in Kapinguria, West Pokot, drove away with 2 million shillings Mcheza jackpot last weekend. The 45-year-old father of 4 said he was happy about the winning the jackpot, vowing to consult with his family on how to boost his matatu business. Some pre-season tour, and Arsenal will begin their 2017 International Champions Cup campaign against Bayern Munich at the Shanghai Arena on Wednesday. Their English counterparts, that is Liverpool and Leicester City, are in Hong Kong for their pre-season Premier League Asia Cup. On Monday, Manchester United made it 2 wins from 2 on the US pre-season tour with a 2-1 win over Real Salt Lake in Utah.